Right, hi everyone. So today we're going to go through worksheet 2 for measurements. And in worksheet 2, as you can see over here, it's mainly about the prefixes and the conversion from one prefix to another. First off, the table of the prefixes can actually be found in your textbook itself. And it is actually very important for you guys to know the prefix, not just the name of the prefix. You need to know the symbol because in questions, they won't tell you the name. They won't spell it out. So they won't write, like, for example, 1 gigameter. But instead of that, what they will do is they will just write 1 gm. All right. So 1 gigameter. Or perhaps for something that we will be more familiar with, would be, would actually be 1 gigabyte. All right. As you know, when you're buying your thumb drive and your hard disk and so on and so forth. All right. So usually we have 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, and so on. So this G actually stands for giga. All right. And giga has a factor of 10 to the power of 9, which means if you press it in your calculator, it would actually be 1 with 9 zeros behind it. All right, it looks like this. So usually when people write 1 GB, 1 gigabyte, what it means is you are supposed to press in your calculator 1 times 10 to the power of 9, all right, bytes, and it will then give you this value. So it's identical to what you see in the vector, all right? So you need to know all of these values, all these prefixes by heart. But it's actually not too difficult because if you were to take a look at it, right, you realize that the first 3 is in multiples of 3. So it's 3, 6, 9. And the last 3 is also a multiple of 3, minus 3, minus 6, minus 9, which only really leave you two numbers to remember. So it's just minus 1 and minus 2 for deci and centi. Right now, moving on. So for conversion of units, now usually for conversion of units, especially if they are asking you to convert from one unit to another, from one prefix to another prefix, we don't rush into it, all right? We change it, so we remove the prefixes before we add another prefix. So one way of doing it, right, is by using this acronym that I've taught my class before. So we think of it as RUMAD, so it's RMAD, all right? So it's actually I tell them to remember, yes, RUMAD, but the U is actually extra. It's just to make it simple for them to remember. Now, what this RMAD stands for, it stands for if you are removing a prefix. When you remove a prefix, you will have to multiply, all right? Multiply by the value of that prefix. And if you are adding a prefix, then you will have to divide by the value of that prefix. All right, so let's do a very simple example first. Let's look at question B first, yeah? So for question B, what you see over here, we want to change milliampere to ampere, all right? So here, from here to here, we are removing, from here to here, all right, we are actually removing the prefix M. So as you can see from the above RUMAD, right? So when we remove, we will multiply by the value of M. And milli is actually times 10 to the power of negative 3, right? It's actually times 10 to the power of negative 3. So, oops, sorry about that. Let me just redo that again. So we have to multiply by 10 to the power of negative 3, all right, which is what you see happening over here, times 10 to the power of negative 3. Right, you press that in your calculator and you should be able to get this value itself. Okay, taking a look at another one, all right, if we look at option A now, so option A, question A will show you the full manipulation for RUMAD. So from here to here, all right, we remove the prefix of K. So we have to multiply by 10 to the power of 3, all right, and that's what you see over here. And after you press it in your calculator, you should be then getting this answer here. Now then, after that, we want to add the prefix of C, as you can see over here. So we want to add the prefix of C, which is centi. So when you add, you divide by the value of centi, which is 10 to the power of minus 2. All right, so that's what you see over here. And again, when you press it in your calculator, you should be able to get this answer. Right, so when we change from one prefix to another, like what I mentioned before, we don't just do everything at one shot. all right, what we need to do is to slow it down. First off, you go from step 1, which is this. All right, you go from a prefix to without a prefix. Then step 2, you go from no prefix to adding a prefix. All right. Now moving on. By the way, at any point in time, if I'm scrolling too fast, you can't see the answers, feel free to pause the video so they can take a look at it. All right. So as you can see, right, for the other questions from D onwards, I did not actually type down the workings for you, but the workings is the same. So please try it out. And if you have any problems, please contact your physics teachers. All right. So as an example, if I'm looking at question D. So from here to here, what I need to do is I need to remove the prefix D, which is the C. All right, so as you can see, they don't spell it out for you. They just give you the letter D, the symbol D. All right, so when you remove, you multiply by the value, which is 10 to the power of minus 1. All right, and then from here to here, what we are doing is, let me use a different color so it's more obvious. So from here to here, what we are doing is we are adding a prefix. So we add the prefix of K. All right, so when you add, you divide by the value of K, which is 10 to the power of 3. All right, and you should be able to get the answers. Okay, scrolling down for you guys to take a look at the rest of the answers here. All right, again, if you need to pause the video to check your answers, please do so. Now, moving on. So this question itself, it involved a lot of conversion from one prefix to another. But actually, there is a shortcut about it. After you have done all the workings and so on, please check your answers. All right. And please pause here if you need to just take your time to look through the lines and so on. And if you're done with all that, just to share with you guys a shortcut. Now, when changing from one prefix to another, the original value of the answer shouldn't change. So what do I mean by that? For example, this is 986. After converting your prefix itself, the numbers should still have 986 in them. All right, it doesn't change. So as an example, this is 116. All right, if I look at the answer, it should be 116. All right. So when you're changing from one prefix to another, for example, 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers to meters, all right, the 15 itself shouldn't change. It will become 15,000 meters, all right? It shouldn't become like, for example, 23,000 or whatsoever, right? So that's one very easy way to double check your answers in exams. And of course, lastly, this is the answers for the conversion of the prefixes. All right, once again, if there's any questions, please do feel free to check in with your physics teachers. And again, just as a gentle reminder before we stop this video, the acronym that we are looking at is Are You Mad? All right, Are You Mad? But we don't actually need the U. All right, we don't actually need the U. That one is just to help us memorize this acronym easier. So it stands for these two. When you remove a prefix, all right, you multiply by the value of the prefix. And then for these two over here, when you add a prefix, you will then divide by the value of that prefix. All right. Okay, I hope that this video has been helpful for you guys. So thank you, and I will see you guys again for the third worksheet.